We are back in the saddle this week with a special guest. Casey Jordan is joining us because Patrick is still gallivanting across Europe. He'll be at DITA Europe next week. So if you're going, be sure to go say hi. We'll have some more posts about that. If you want more information about his speaking sessions, they are on our LinkedIn post. And I'm sure he'll be posting about it as well. So let's go ahead and get into it today. So, Jared, I know you've got some interesting stuff you want to talk about with
I
Casey.
actually think it'd be really sweet if we're all just covering for Patrick and he's like living his high school dream of backpacking across Europe by himself, and he's actually just like a vagrant for the next couple of weeks.
Be at a bunch of
Yeah,
conferences next
seeing
months.
customers.
We don't even know where he is. We
Nah,
have lost him. We haven't
no,
talked to him in 2 weeks.
sorry, I can't be there. My train schedule, as much as I would love to just give Patrick a hard time for 15 minutes behind his back. Actually, Casey, thanks for joining, because it's A, fun to talk to you as always. And then B, you've been doing we released a feature. It's an AI writing assistant named Edo. And you've been doing a bunch of research with a beta group, getting feedback from them on their use of it. What I would love to hear about from you is not so much like about what we're doing with the product, which is, I know about some of it. But really, I'm more interested in like, what are the things that our customers are doing with it, trying to do with it, that maybe we didn't anticipate, or they're just like, are there any themes that you've seen where they're like trying to do particular things? Like, I don't think we gave them like strict prompts on what to do with it. We just said, kind of, here it is, test it out, let us know what you think. And I think we could go back with particular questions, but we didn't give them like specific prompts to or ways to engage with it. So I don't think, if we did, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm curious as to like, are there trends that you're seeing that tech writers in structured content are wanting to use AI tools to help with their writing?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think, we do have some examples in our documentation, but we did leave it pretty wide open.
Yeah.
Besides kind of going through like what it's capable of, what some of the limitations are. I think that it kind of falls into two different groups. So there's people that are writing every day that are essentially experts in structured content.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing kind of one set of tasks. A lot of that is focused around like maybe refactoring content, things that would be time consuming for them, but they know how to do. And it's easy to just ask Edo to go and, take a piece of content, convert it into a different structure. Maybe you have a list of something and you realize, well, I need to add some more information to this. So I want to put it in a table so I can have some extra columns.
Yeah.
Simple task. And if you're familiar with structured content, really easy to do. But you're still, just like Google Docs, you're still creating a new table,
You got to do
adding
it.
columns, copying and pasting content. So there's that aspect. I think one thing that's interesting is just all sets of users using Edo to kind of validate their documents, and not just from a sense of like whether the structure is correct, but whether or not there's like any inconsistencies, kind of like having an extra copy editor to go through and just point things out. And I think
like
that's
sentence structure type things, just like the way it's actually written.
more so that can be part of it. And especially, so there's been a lot of kind of feedback around style guide.
Okay.
Using Edo with style guides. And so one interesting one is, if a company uses simplified English or they use the Microsoft style guide or something like that, Edo knows about those style guides. So they can say, hey, is there anything in my document that doesn't conform to the Microsoft style guide? And then Edo will start pointing those things out to them. But it can go even further than that, where in the sense that if you have like table information in your document, it can actually go through and analyze the document to make sure you haven't written something that's contradictory somewhere in the document versus another part. So you might say in one part of your document, we've got these 3 features. And then at the bottom of the document, you might have a table of all the features. And maybe there's 4, maybe there's 2. And Edo will go, you said you had 3 features up here, but the this other part of the document is not in line with that. Is this an error or is it intentional? So that's really useful. It's a use case outside of just kind of changing the actual content. It's really like having a colleague that's sitting next to you. Like in programming, we do paired programming. and
Yeah.
it's almost like having another person sit next to you and do paired writing.
Is that something that you expected to hear back from people or not?
I think we had some indications that that would be useful, but certainly, didn't think that we would get that feedback as early as we did.
Yep.
And now that comes along with a lot of extra wants, like wanting Edo to be able to utilize a custom style guide.
Yeah.
Wanting Edo to be able to access information outside of what they're currently working on. Like if Edo
Right.
could go pull information from another database or a ticketing system, all of a sudden you're taking that capability and you're just multiplying. If someone can say, hey, is there anything in this document that's not aligned with this ticket in this other system? And it could go grab it. So those are really interesting use cases and things we've thought about, which are not current capabilities, but
Yep.
there's been some testing around it.
That's cool. Is there anything from just a content creation? You said there were two groups. There's the people who are the technical writers who understand structured content, presumably. The other group are people who don't know structured content that have been testing. Is that right?
Or are new to it.
Or
Yep.
new? Okay. And so what's been some of the most interesting feedback about what that particular group would want a writing assistant to be able to help them with or do in a structured content environment?
So kind of twofold. I think that there's a big bang for the buck for those users in just creating content. And that's not in the sense of like saying, hey, Edo, can you write this document for me? But oftentimes they have some information that might be in a ticket. It might be some like a brain dump that they did. And getting that into a like highly structured, semantically rich format, like structured content, that can be challenging. They might not know what structures to use. And so Edo's an expert in that. And so they can just paste the information in or highlight the brain dump that they did in the document and then have Edo structure it correctly or ask, what the right structure is. So I think that's a big one too. People who want to actively learn more about structured content. This is, again, it's an expert that's with you. You can ask questions like, how should I do this? And
So
help you.
I'll pause you for one thing you said. Pause on one thing you said and back up just a bit. You said they can ask it to structure the content correctly. Correctly is a value term. And so the correctly here is what? According to the data spec right now and not any, or is it custom DTDs if they're loaded? So does Edo respect custom DTDs? Does it default to just the standard, the data spec? Or is it possible that, I know you said we can't upload a style guide right now, but if we could upload a style guide into Edo, would correct structure then mean that organization's structure, their defined structures?
So it defaults to the standard data structures and best practices. Okay. So it's not entirely subjective in that sense. It can't do customized DTDs right now, although that's something that could be added. But for the most part, because data inherits all of its structures from the base types, it still has a pretty good idea of what the structures mean and what they're doing.
Okay.
So
my question is like, my concern, I guess, is really like, what is the chance that somebody who's new to it asks it to do something? Let's say they do a full day's work in there and they're a new writer to structured content and they have Edo like do a whole bunch for them. And let's say they structure it so that there's, 1,000 bullet lists and each of them have only one item in it. And that doesn't adhere to that organization's style guide. Obviously the document should go through a review process and everything. But I guess it's possible right now that somebody could ask it to do that and it's going to go sure fine because there's nothing that prevents me best practice wise or style guide wise or data spec wise that says don't have a single bullet item.
Yeah, it's a good point. And it's a big topic in AI governance in general. And so Edo will stop you from doing some kind of insane things, even to the point where like Edo might say like, I'm not going to help you with that.
Because oh, really?
Yeah.
Edo's not going to be an accomplice.
Yeah, right.
Can we make it say things like, hey, you might be off your rocker on this one, but...
You sure about that?
Yeah, you sure you want to do that?
There was
like you're writing a ransom note. Would you like some help with that?
There was definitely some conversations about how easy it would be to change Edo on like April Fools so that it was like responded as Yoda or something like that. Nothing that would block people's workflow, but
That would be amazing.
no, but that's a good point. Like there's a lot of efforts to put governance around the AI systems, but again, it is not a thinking being. So it might carry out the task that you want it to do exactly how you specified, even if it's wrong. But that being said, if there are rules in place, it will try to respect those as best as possible. The other thing that I think that's really interesting is the content you've already written informs those decisions as well.
Yeah.
So Edo is not going to try to respond in a way that's vastly different than the text that's already in your document in terms of voice or tone or things like that. So if you start doing that and then you ask Edo, like, is there anything that could be improved? It's probably going to call that out for you.
That's cool. So we have one thing we want to do with you that's related to a post that Ren had, or it was on the Heretto page earlier. Before I do that, I just like last little wrap up. What's the most interesting or surprising takeaway from this first group of feedback, bundle of feedback you've gotten?
Probably this shouldn't be surprising, but I think the context that came up is surprising, but the want for Edo to do content conversion for people.
Change formats entirely.
Yeah, so bringing something into DITA that's in an entirely different format. And Edo can do that now by kind of copying and pasting it in, but there's a sense of wanting to do it at kind of a larger scale. And at the time we created Edo, it was more thinking that like conversion was its own process, like it goes through its own pipelines and things like that. But that's consistently come up as people are like, well, I just want Edo to do that for me. Why can't Edo do that for me right now?
Yeah. I've tried to do some stuff like that with like Chat GPT, and it takes a lot of like very, very specific prompting for it to work out smoothly at this point. And that's a system that's like, I'm doing very simple stuff and asking it to do very simple conversions, and it's still probably not worth my time most of the time. It'd be faster for me to just do the conversion.
Yeah, for you.
For me, manually, yeah.
Yeah, I think if someone's not familiar with converting content, though, they should get 90% of the way there and then clean it up, which I think is an interesting use case.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ideal, right? Is that it does a lot of the heavy lifting and you just get to put on the nice little bow and call it done.
Yeah, you get to watch it go through the task for you and sit back with the boss.
Exactly.
That's right.
Well, for those of you who don't know, Edo is in beta testing right now. So our customers are doing a lot of fun stuff with it. We're getting a lot of good feedback, and it will be available to the general public very, very soon. So keep an eye out. We'll definitely keep you posted on that. But I'm going to shift just a little bit, and Patrick, forgive us for this, but
no, don't apologize for this. No,
I'm not going to.
This is
it's
what
wonderful.
This podcast is about right here.
So for those of you who don't know, I'll pull back the curtains a little bit on Heretto. And during our all hands meetings, we always do a get to know you with some of our team members, and Casey leads them. And he's become very notorious around the team because he comes up with the most wild would you rather questions we have all heard. It's like our favorite part of the week, just to see what he can come up with and what people answer. And so we're going to turn the tables a little bit today, and I'm going to ask Casey what his would you rathers are. So first one, would you rather be roasted by a class of kindergartners or a class of college students?
Kindergartners all day long. I can take them.
This is like comedy roast, right? Like they're not putting him on a spigot and like throwing him over a fire, right?
No fire involved. No.
Okay, cool.
Well, in that case, still kindergartners. I don't think they could get me on a spigot.
I don't know. You get a group of them together, they could like.
They're strong, man.
They could be strong.
Numbers.
Okay, cool. Would you rather have a zombie apocalypse or an alien invasion?
Oh man, alien invasion leaves so much to question about what that might mean. I think I've watched enough Walking Dead. I go with the zombie apocalypse.
Fair. What about you, Jared?
I'm gonna go alien invasion on this one.
Oh.
Like, I feel like it's a little more like centralized. Like, oh, it's happening over there right now. I don't have to worry about like, is it happening here right now? Like, I feel like it would be on the news, so I'd be able to track that. But like the zombie thing, like they could just pop up wherever. Like their origin is here, so I got to always be worried.
You're telling me that the aliens are going to come straight to Middle America? That's
I
exactly where they
mean-
want to be.
Might take like 400,000 years before they be
Listen.
on the news. They're coming, and then you'd
Yeah,
be
that's
like,
okay. But like they're going to like L.A. and New York. You guys have seen the movies. They ain't coming here.
"Fair point."
Got a little time
Okay.
to hang out. They also know that where I live, you know, pretty much everybody's heavily armed. So they're like, no, just stop. Don't go there.
Heavily armed.
Which is another vote for zombie apocalypse. So that's good. Okay, so
That's a good
those
point.
were actually our fairly like mellow ones from Casey. So the next one I'm gonna just have to read it because I can't remember it. Would you rather have your life narrated by a bored sports commentator or have every meal you eat be announced like a wrestling match?
Wrestling match.
Fair.
I would drive my family completely insane, but I would love every minute of it.
Are you just gonna start doing it yourself?
Mac and cheese, rumble.
Okay. Would you rather have every movie you watch slowly turn into the style of Shrek halfway through, or every song you listen to slowly turn into the style of Annie the musical?
I love Annie the musical. That'd be fine with me. Shrek is
Really?
good too, but yeah.
What about you,
I'd
Jay?
have to go movie for sure. I like music too much to like have every song ruined.
That would be my answer as well. Okay, last one before we go. Are you gonna do hold on, I missed it. Macarena, Funky Chicken, or Electric Slide?
Electric slide all day long.
Yeah, I gotta stick with my roots here.
I'm sorry, guys. That is the wrong answer. I'm a
Oh.
millennial, and it's Macarena.
Must be a different part of the country.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was wonderful. Thank you so much, Casey. I
Thanks,
hope
Casey.
everyone has a great weekend, and we'll see you again next week for Component.